If there's one thing I've learned about strong men, it's that they aren't born, they're built. And history proves it. And in a minute, I'm going to show you what strong men across history have in common. Strong men who lived during different centuries, strong men who fought in different wars, strong men who endured different kinds of hardships. All of these men who rose above whatever trials they faced possess some of the same traits. And again, these traits are overwhelmingly learned behavior. And if they could be learned by others, they can absolutely be learned by you. Now let's define first what we're not going to be talking about. We're not going to talk about fancy slogans or the use of motivational language. You know, phrases like stay hard and never quit. Those are always wrong, but they can become substitutes for what really matters. And they tend to be used to cover up character deficiencies, because repeating strong words and phrases is easier than becoming a strong man. You see, real strength shows up in habits, not hashtags. We're also not going to be talking about personalities, because strength is not temperamental. It's not loud confidence or aggression or alpha energy. History simply does not support that. In fact, some of the strongest men were quiet, thoughtful, steady, and believe it or not, some were even introverted. What we are going to be talking about is patterns of behavior. Patterns of behavior that show up repeatedly in the lives of strong men throughout history. They show up across different cultures, across different eras, and across different circumstances. These patterns show up in men who govern themselves, men who carry responsibility, and in men who endure pressure. These patterns just keep showing up, and they show up in men who are different from each other in many ways. So let's sum it all up. Strong men aren't built by motivational phrases or personality traits. They're built by repeated habits that shape their character. And there is absolutely no reason why you can't do the same. In this conversation, I will show you 3 traits that strong men consistently share. Traits that they weren't born with. Traits that they developed over time. Traits that you can develop over time as well. And by the end of our conversation, I'll give you 3 actionable steps to do just that. Steps you can begin implementing right away. We'll call it the 24-hour challenge. Not a fancy name, but it's all I could come up with. And in reality, what does it matter anyway, what we call it? And before we get there, let's unpack the problem that most men have that derails their progress. And I've observed it in others and in my own life that most men do not have a strength problem. They have a drift problem. So what does that even mean? It means that most guys can be focused for a while. They can be driven for a while. And they can be disciplined for a while. Then that little thing called drift sets in. And there are many reasons for this. Maybe your routine breaks, or stress creeps in, or something unforeseen happens in your life. Or maybe you're like me and you just get lazy sometimes. Whatever the reason is, the result is that any momentum you had begins to slip. And brother, let me tell you, I've been there many times. I'll get in a good routine and then life gets in the way and that good routine gets interrupted. And when that happens, my focus takes a hit. Everything begins to get out of whack. And then my progress begins to regress. I begin to slide back into old bad habits. And maybe that's happened to you. If it has, you know how fast the slide can happen. The truth is that this drift can happen to any of us at any given time. Don't think that you're the only one who's ever experienced this. But we can look to history as our guide. And when we do, we see that strong men do not defeat drift with motivation. Because let's be real, when drift happens, motivation goes right out the window. No, strong men defeat the problem of drift by utilizing the pattern I'm going to show you. Repeated behaviors over time. And these patterns fall into 3 categories: order, burden, and fire. Now stick with me for a while as we unpack these further. Because simply saying order, burden, and fire tells you nothing. Order is a man governing himself before life has to. It's not perfection or rigidity. It's not becoming a control freak. It's alignment. Your actions should match your convictions. and your habits should support your priorities. When you have order, your life has direction instead of drift. When you don't have order, you end up wasting your talents. Your convictions remain only theoretical, and your faith, it stays intellectual. In short, order in your life is what makes your intentions visible. Many times, order is small things. For example, you show up when you said you would. You keep basic rhythms like sleep, work, training, prayer. You don't let mood dictate your mission. You finish what you start. These things are not by any means dramatic, and they can even seem inconsequential. But it's the little things done over and over and over again that compounds. And historically, whether it be soldiers, explorers, pastors, craftsmen, or reformers, the men who lasted had intentional order. Not necessarily easy lives, but ordered lives. The next is burden. Burden is choosing responsibility instead of comfort. It's a shift from what do I feel like doing to what needs to be done. And strong men historically weren't defined by ease. They were defined by usefulness. The strong men we are talking about carried their families, their communities, their causes, and their convictions. And oftentimes they did it quietly. No fanfare, no ticker tape parades. Now, when you think of the strong men throughout history, we think of big screen heroics. But most days were anything but. Yes, they were heroes, but the more subtle kind. They showed up for their families when they were tired. They did the unglamorous tasks. They were reliable at work. They mentored someone younger. They served their church and their community. Burden is usually invisible, but it stabilizes everything around you. And here's something important. Men don't become strong before they carry burden. They become strong by carrying it. Lastly, we have fire. Fire is what happens when pressure tests who you actually are. Fire is not aggression or bravado or emotional intensity. It's steadiness under strain. It's the ability to endure discomfort, to do the hard things consistently and stay faithful when it costs something. Fire doesn't appear magically in a crisis. It's trained beforehand. Fire like burden is often quiet. Things like hard conversations you don't avoid, physical discipline when you're tired, moral courage when compromise is easier, emotional stability when stress rises, faithfulness when results are slow. Here is what most men I talk to really want. They want to live a life of purpose. They want stability. They want to be respected. I mean, man, how many fights have started because somebody felt disrespected? And lastly, they want to know that they are reliable and that people can count on them. And being reliable starts with your ability to trust yourself. Now, as I said before, these things can be acquired. Strong men aren't born that way. They're built by repeated habits that shape their character. So how do we go about doing that? Well, a good place to start is something I call the 24-hour challenge. For the next 24 hours, live intentionally in 3 areas: discipline, responsibility, and courage. Or as we've already talked about, order, burden, and fire. It's not about heroics, it's about alignment. One day, just 24 hours, lived deliberately can reset momentum. Why 24 hours? Well, first, it removes the feeling of being overwhelmed. Men stall when change feels massive. 24 hours is manageable. Anyone can do it, even me. Second, it exposes drift quickly. You find out fast where negotiations happen. That negotiation that says, I'll do it tomorrow, or just one more donut, where comfort dominates, comfort that leads to procrastination, where avoidance lives, that voice that says, it sounds good on paper, but I really don't want to do it. In other words, it reveals reality. And lastly, it builds credibility with yourself. Follow through once and confidence rises. Not hype, but hard evidence that you can become one of those strong men history teaches us about. Here are the 3 components of the 24-hour challenge. The first is order. Choose one habit you've been inconsistent with and execute it without negotiation for 24 hours. This could be getting enough sleep, which begins by going to bed on time, or it could be going to the gym, or reading your Bible, or maybe it's limiting your screen time. Whatever it is, decide once that you're going to do it and then just stop debating with yourself. Just do it. Commit. Let nothing get in your way. Number 2 is burden. Intentionally carry one responsibility that benefits someone else, and do it quietly and without recognition. Because nobody needs to know except the other person. And in some circumstances, they don't even need to know. Here are some examples. Help your spouse without prompting. Encourage a younger man. Handle a lingering task that somebody else has been burdened with. Serve at your church or in your community. Again, it's important to remember that you are not announcing this to the world. Don't post it on social media. Just be useful to someone else. Lastly, fire. Do one thing you've been avoiding because it's uncomfortable. Examples include having a difficult conversation, or maybe it's making that apology you've been avoiding. How about making an appointment that you've been delaying, or engaging in that hard workout? How about honest self-examination or facing a spiritual issue? It doesn't need to be anything dramatic, just deliberate. Now, this challenge only has 4 rules. And yes, I know, we men tend to not like rules, but they are necessary for order to prevail. So here they are. Rule 1, no perfectionism. Completion matters, and it doesn't have to be flawless. Rule 2, no public performance. This isn't content, it's formation. Rule 3, no stacking too much. Just one habit, one burden, one courage action. That's enough. Rule 4, repeat weekly if helpful. This can become a rhythm, not just a one-time event. And I'd suggest adding to each one of these categories each week while maintaining what you did the prior week. I hope you found all of this beneficial. I know it's been very helpful in my life. And just keep this in mind. It doesn't matter where you are today. It only matters where you're heading. Strong men are not born that way. They are men who knew there was something more they could become, and they made a conscious effort to acquire the traits necessary to become that man they were created to be. And I know that you can do it too. The only thing stopping you is you. And sometimes that can be a hard reality, but it is a reality. My name is Dennis Gill, and this is the Faith and Fortitude Project. I'm going to thank you very much for watching to the end. And if you got something out of this, please like and share it with someone that you feel needs to benefit from it. And remember, faith first, fortitude always. Now let's get after it. Don't wait till tomorrow. Begin now.